Hey guys, Civilord here, back again with another action figure review, and no, your eyes doth not deceive you, for today we're going to be taking a look at the Ben 10 2016 Reboot Heatblast figure, brought to us by the fine folks over at Playmates Toys. Now, spoiler alert, Ben 10 Classic from 2005/6, because the first episode aired on December 27th, so does it really count? I guess in some cases, yes, it does. But at any rate, that era of Ben 10 is what got your boy into collecting action figures in the first place. Without that series, I don't know if we'd be here. I really don't. And while this may not be my era of Ben 10, it was somebody's era of Ben 10, and not for nothing, I think the fine folks over at Playmates Toys did a bang-up job with this toy line, and I'm kind of surprised at myself that I haven't taken a look at them yet, either on this channel or my previous channel, because Ben 10 content, when I was building the Overlord Toy Reviews channel, were some of my highest grossing videos as far as views go, especially when it came to the latter half of the Ultimate Alien line, which, yes, my first channel is that old. So, with that being said, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all good old Heatblast has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with this little fireball here that you can easily slip over his hand. If you're not a boob like me anyways. There you go. But now he has a fire punch. So that's cool. Then we also get this clip-on / pagan fireball blast effect. You just clip it to the underside of his arm, and then the peg will line up with his hand, and now he's got a fire blast. And that's pretty cool, because my Heatblast figure from 2006 didn't have that. It just had a stupid lenticular card and a whatchamacallit disc. Oh god, what are those things called? It's not a viewfinder. That'll come to me. But the little disc you put in a device and flash the light through it and it'll show up on the wall. Something like that. It's got stills of the show on it. It was kind of cool for back then, but nowadays there's this thing called YouTube, and you can just watch the clips on there. But as far as articulation on little Heatblast goes, his head will turn side to side. I think it's funny how they made his head kind of look like a candle as far as the shape of the fire goes. And I'm not opposed to the clear plastic on this guy, although I do have to mention he felt a little dusty, even though he was in storage in a bag. He had kind of that weird plastic dust stuff going on, so I just gave him a quick bath and that took care of that. His shoulders can go out, not very far. I mean, if you do this, you can get them out a little more, I think. But they can rotate all the way around. Single jointed elbow with rotation. Doesn't really matter what way it faces. It gets the same amount of range either way. Swivel at the wrist and a hinge on this wrist along with the swivel. I wish he had a swivel on both, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Nothing in the waist. It would break up the rock pattern here because it is asymmetrical, just like it was in the original series. He can kick forward. He can kick back. He can just kind of twist. I never cared for the way Playmates did their hips. The pegs go up instead of in at a right angle, so they don't really get the hip range that I like, but it's good enough. He can sit in his crazy plane vehicle they made, or the rust bucket, which last I checked, Grandpa Max is the one that drove the rust bucket, but either way, he does have a swivel at the knee as well as a hinge. not a ton of range. And then he also has peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So if you have figure stands for these guys, you could definitely utilize them. But a fun little figure. The last figure I got from my local Toys R Us, I believe, a lone tier for Toys R Us, that which had everything and more, at least compared to nowadays. But I will tell you, these Playmates Ben 10 figures, despite the fact that there wasn't a Toys R Us for, I would say, a majority of their shelf life, were a heck of a lot easier to find than the old Bandai ones. I remember having a heck of a time finding a lot of the Ultimate Alien figures, certain figures from Alien Force and the OG series I never got because I never saw them. But I do have a fair collection of those, and maybe one day I will take a look at those on this channel. But for now, we're going to be taking a look at this Reboot line, because if I'm being honest, I don't think the Reboot is the most offensive thing to happen to the Ben 10 brand as a whole. I really think that the change in writing and art direction come Omniverse, featuring Ben 10 Prime, which is the Ben 10 from Classic, for those of you not in the know, I thought that was more of an egregious thing to happen to the brand, and is kind of why I fell off, but that's another story for another day. So with that being said, I think it is time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's good old Heatblast from the 2016 Ben 10 Reboot series, alongside a couple other of Mr. Tennyson's alien forms from that very same Reboot series. We got Diamond Head and very awkwardly posed Accelerate. We'll get more into that during his review, but as you can see, much like the Classic series and the series that came after it, Ben's alien forms do vary in shape and size, and that's kind of what I liked about the series. I like the differentiation amidst the characters, made them stand out, gave them personality. And while this show was a little bit more devoid of personality, along with in-depth storytelling and character arcs, what it didn't lack, per se, was the characters not all looking the same, being the same height. You know, I feel like Alien Force and Ultimate Alien era really made a lot of humanoid aliens back then. And this series is no different, but, you know, Alien Force, they were all like on two legs, except for like Spider Monkey maybe. But getting these two out of the way. So we can bring in our two regulars. Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibolith. If you're a kid watching this, this is what a real toy looks like. As well as the infamous 11 Spawn. A little bit less of a real toy, but as usual, good old Al Simmons towers over everyone, and by a long shot this time. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and while it may not be my mind's eye view of good old Heatblast, or even your mind's eye view of good old Heatblast, it is a fair enough representation of, once again, good old Heatblast as he appeared in the Ben 10 2016 reboot that aired on ye old Cartoon Network, RIP. And I gotta tell ya, despite the fact that this was not my era of Ben 10, it was some kid out there's era of Ben 10, and I am very much looking forward to take a look at the figures released from it. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, catch you guys later.